when Dae-sung, the 42-year-old Korean Mafia king known as the Silent King, forced 19-year-old Ella to marry him to pay her uncle's $2 million debt, she spat, "I'll never belong to you," and he smiled like a predator and said, "We'll see." 3 months later, after he'd killed 6 men for her, bled for her, and literally dropped his weapons and offered his life to save hers from a rival gang, she crashed into his office and said, "I need you to take me, right now. On your desk, no more waiting." And the way his legendary control shattered was the most beautiful and terrifying thing she'd ever seen. But in the aftermath, wrapped in his arms with her body still trembling, his phone lit up with surveillance footage that made them both go cold. Someone had been filming them for weeks, knew every intimate moment, every whispered secret, and the message attached said, "I have enough to destroy you both. Meet me alone, or I'll send everything to your enemies and watch them tear her apart." If you love watching a strong woman tame a powerful man and make him work for her love, subscribe now. This is about to get good. The red silk dress felt like a prison on Ella's skin as rough hands pushed her through the heavy wooden doors. Her heart hammered so loud she could hear it in her ears. The room smelled like expensive cologne and danger. And then she saw him. Dae-sung stood at the end of the aisle like a dark storm waiting to strike. Tall, broad shoulders, a black suit that probably cost more than her entire village, but it was his eyes that made her knees weak. Cold, sharp eyes that looked at her like she was something he'd bought at a market. He was handsome in a scary way, like a beautiful knife that could cut you. His jaw was hard, his lips pressed into a thin line, and there was a scar running down his left cheek that made him look even more dangerous. He was 42 years old. She was 19. "Move!" her uncle hissed behind her, shoving her forward. The same uncle who'd raised her after her parents died. The same uncle who'd just sold her to pay his gambling debts. Ella's legs moved even though she wanted to run. Her traditional Nigerian wrapper had been replaced with this red dress that showed too much skin. Her natural hair was pulled back so tight it hurt. Everything hurt. Each step toward Dae-sung felt like walking towards the edge of a cliff. When she finally stood in front of him, he looked down at her. Up close, she could see the danger in every part of him. His cologne was spicy and masculine, making her stomach flutter in a way she didn't understand. He was so much taller than her, she had to tilt her head back to meet his gaze. "You're shorter than I expected," he said in perfect English, his voice deep and cold like winter. His accent was thick but clear, and younger looking. "I'm 19, Ella whispered, her voice shaking. "Please, I don't want—" "What you want doesn't matter." He cut her off, without raising his voice. Somehow, that was scarier than yelling. "Your uncle owed me $2 million. Your payment. Simple business." Tears burned in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Not yet. I'm not a thing you can buy." Something flashed in his dark eyes. Surprise, maybe? Or anger? In my world, everything has a price, even pretty Nigerian girls who talk back. The wedding ceremony was quick and cold. A man in a suit read words in Korean that she didn't understand. Her uncle signed papers with shaking hands, refusing to look at her. Dae-sung's men stood around the room like statues, all wearing black, all carrying guns she could see under their jackets. When it was time for the ring, Dae-sung grabbed her hand. His touch was warm and strong, completely different from his cold expression. He slid a diamond ring onto her finger, a ring so big it felt heavy. His thumb brushed against her palm, just for a second, and electricity shot up her arm. She gasped softly, and his eyes snapped to hers. For just a moment, she saw something hot flash in those cold eyes before the ice returned. "You belong to me now," he said quietly. still holding her hand. Say it. Never. She breathed. His grip tightened, not enough to hurt, but enough to remind her who had power here. He leaned down, his lips close to her ear, his breath hot against her skin. Stubborn. I'll enjoy breaking that spirit. A shiver ran down her whole body, fear mixed with something else she didn't want to name. The ceremony ended. Her uncle rushed out without saying goodbye, probably running to gamble away whatever money Dae-sung had given him as a bonus. Ella stood alone in the middle of the room, this ring weighing down her finger, this man standing too close. Let's go, Dae-sung commanded. Your new home is waiting. The car ride to his mansion was silent. Ella pressed herself against the door, as far from him as possible, but she could feel him watching her. His eyes travelled over her face, her neck, down to where the red dress showed her collarbone. Her skin felt hot everywhere he looked. Are you going to cry? He asked suddenly. Would it matter if I did? No. He said it simply, like he was telling her the weather. But I'm curious. Most girls would be sobbing by now. I'm not most girls. The words came out stronger than she felt. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost like a smile, but not quite. I'm starting to see that. His mansion took her breath away, huge white walls, gates made of iron, gardens that looked like they belonged in magazines. Inside was even more impressive. Marble floors so shiny she could see her reflection, chandeliers that sparkled like stars, paintings that probably cost more than her entire life back home, but it felt empty, cold, like a beautiful cage. Dae-sung dismissed his men with a wave of his hand. Suddenly, they were alone in this massive house, just him and her. The air felt thick and heavy. Let me show you the rules, he said, walking toward her slowly, like a predator. First rule, you don't leave this house without my permission. Second rule, you don't talk to anyone without my permission. Third rule, you obey me in everything. Understand? Ella lifted her chin even though her heart was racing. And if I don't? He moved fast, so fast she didn't see it coming. Suddenly, he was right in front of her, so close she could feel the heat coming off his body. His hand came up and she flinched, but he didn't hit her. Instead, his fingers gently touched her cheek, tilting her face up to his. Then I'll have to teach you, he said softly, dangerously. His thumb traced her bottom lip and her breath caught. And trust me, little wife, my lessons can be very intense. Her whole body felt hot and cold at the same time. She should push him away. She should fight. But her body wouldn't move. His eyes had changed. They weren't cold anymore. They were burning, looking at her mouth like he wanted to devour it. You're trembling, he noticed, his voice dropping lower. Are you scared? Yes, she whispered honestly. Good. His face came closer, his lips almost touching hers. She could taste his breath. You should be scared of me. I'm not a good man, Ella. I've killed people. I've destroyed lives. I take what I want, and I don't apologize. His nose brushed against hers, and right now, what I want is you. Her heart nearly exploded out of her chest. I didn't choose this. No. He agreed, his lips hovering over hers, so close, but not touching. But your body is choosing right now. I can see your pulse racing in your neck. I can hear your breathing getting faster. I can feel the heat coming off your skin. I hate you, she breathed, but even she could hear how weak it sounded. Hate me tomorrow. His hand slid into her hair, gripping it firmly. Tonight, I just want to see if those lips taste as sweet as they look. Don't, she started, but he was already kissing her. His mouth covered hers, hot and demanding, and nothing like she'd imagined a first kiss would be. It wasn't gentle or sweet. It was possessive, claiming, like he was marking her as his property. His other hand grabbed her waist, pulling her body against his hard chest. She made a small sound, surprise or protest, she wasn't sure, and he took advantage, his tongue sliding into her mouth. Fire exploded through her body. Wrong, this was so wrong, but her hands grabbed his suit jacket instead of pushing him away. He tasted like whiskey and sin. His body was hard muscle everywhere, overwhelming her smaller frame. The kiss went deeper, hungrier, and she found herself kissing him back, even though her mind screamed at her to stop. When he finally pulled away, they were both breathing hard. His eyes were blazing now. All the ice melted into pure heat. Her lips felt swollen, and her whole body was shaking. "Go to the guest room," he said roughly, his voice deeper than before. "Third door on the left, upstairs." "Lock the door?" She blinked, confused. "What?" "Go. Now." He stepped back, his hands clenched into fists. "Before I forget that you've had a traumatic day and take you right here on this marble floor." The raw hunger in his voice sent panic and something else through her. She ran, up the stairs, counting doors, finding the third one. She rushed inside and slammed it, locking it just like he'd said. Then she collapsed against the door, sliding down to the floor. Her fingers touched her lips. She could still feel him there, still taste him. What had she done? She'd kissed him back. The man who'd bought her, the criminal who'd forced her into marriage. And worse, her body was still burning, wanting more of what he'd started. Through the door, she heard his footsteps in the hallway. They stopped right outside her room. For a long minute, neither of them moved. She held her breath. "Sleep well, little wife." His voice came through the wood, dark and promising. "Tomorrow, your real education begins." His footsteps walked away. Ella sat on the cold floor in her red silk dress, in a stranger's mansion in Korea, wearing a diamond ring that felt like a chain. Her old life was gone. Her freedom was gone. And the most terrifying part, a small, shameful part of her wanted to unlock that door and see what would happen if she did. Morning light sliced through the silk curtains like a knife, waking Ella from restless dreams. For 3 seconds, she forgot where she was. Then reality crashed down. The massive bedroom, the diamond ring on her finger, the kiss that still burned on her lips. She was married to a monster. A soft knock made her jump. "Mrs. Choi, breakfast is ready." A female voice called from outside. Mrs. Choi, that was her name now. Ella wanted to vomit. Downstairs, the dining room table could seat 20 people, but only one place was set. No sign of Dae-sung. An older woman with kind eyes and grey hair bowed slightly. "I'm Hye-jin, the head housekeeper. Please, eat." The food looked expensive and foreign. Rice, soup, grilled fish, vegetables arranged like art. Ella's stomach growled, but pride kept her in her chair. "Where is he?" "Mr. Choi left for business at dawn. He won't return until evening." Hye-jin poured tea with practiced movements. "He instructed me to show you the house rules and introduce you to the staff." So he was avoiding her good. Maybe that kiss had been a one-time thing. Maybe he'd leave her alone in this golden prison. But as days passed, Ella learned that Dae-sung's presence filled the house even when he wasn't there. The staff whispered his name with fear and respect. His office was locked. No one entered without permission. His bedroom was on the opposite end of the mansion from hers. Like he was keeping distance on purpose, she started exploring, learning the layout of her cage. 32 rooms, indoor pool, library with books in 7 languages, gym that looked like something from a luxury hotel, gardens with flowers she'd never seen before, and everywhere, security cameras watching her every move. On the third day, she finally saw him again. Ella was in the library trying to read when voices erupted from downstairs. Angry voices, Korean words she didn't understand, but the tone was clear. Someone was about to die. Curiosity pulled her to the top of the stairs. Below, in the marble entrance hall, Dae-sung stood surrounded by 6 men in suits, but these weren't his men. These were visitors, enemies, maybe, from the way everyone's hands hovered near hidden guns. "You disrespect me in my own house," Dae-sung said in English, his voice quiet and deadly. "You come here, making demands, threatening my business. Do you know what I do to people who threaten me?" An older man with grey hair sneered. "Your business is failing, Choi. The Chinese are taking over your territory. The Russians are pushing into your ports. You're weak now. We're offering you a partnership before you lose everything." Dae-sung smiled. It was the scariest smile Ella had ever seen. No warmth, just predator showing teeth. "I don't partner with rats." Everything exploded at once. The grey-haired man reached for his gun. Dae-sung moved like lightning, faster than should be possible for a man his size. He grabbed the man's wrist, twisted it until bones cracked, and had him on the ground in 2 seconds flat. His other hand pulled a gun from his jacket, pointing it at the other 5 men before they could blink. "Anyone else?" Dae-sung asked calmly, like he was offering tea. The men fled, dragging their broken leader with them. Dae-sung stood there, gun still in hand, breathing steady like he'd just taken a walk instead of nearly starting a war. Then his eyes lifted, finding Ella at the top of the stairs. She froze, caught. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes, those dark, dangerous eyes, travelled over her like a physical touch. She was wearing simple jeans and a t-shirt, her natural hair in a puff, no makeup, nothing special. But the way he looked at her made her feel naked. "You shouldn't have seen that," he said, finally, putting his gun away. "I live here. Where else would I be?" Another almost smile. Fair point. He started walking toward the stairs, toward her. Each step made her heart beat faster. "Are you afraid now, seeing what I really am?" She should lie, say yes, run back to her room, lock the door. But something stubborn in her refused. "I was already afraid. This just confirms you're exactly what I thought, a violent criminal." He stopped 1 step below her, making them almost eye level. Up close, she could see he hadn't slept well, dark circles under his eyes, tension in his jaw. "And yet you're still standing here talking back to me. Most people who witness my business end up trembling on the floor. Maybe I'm stupid or brave." His hand reached up, fingers almost touching her cheek before he stopped himself. He clenched his fist and dropped it. "Go back to your room, Ella. Forget what you saw." Hard to forget watching someone's wrist snap. "You'll see worse if you stay in my world." Something that might have been regret flashed in his eyes. "I'm not a good man. I told you that. Then let me go home." No. Simple. Final. He walked past her up the stairs, his shoulder brushing hers, sending sparks through her whole body. "You're mine now. Better get used to it." After that, she started noticing things. How Dae-sung ate breakfast alone every morning in his office, never joining her at that huge empty table. How he worked until midnight every night, his office light visible from her window. How the staff loved him despite their fear. Hyejin mentioned how he'd paid for her daughter's cancer treatment, how he'd helped the gardener's son get into university, how he donated millions to orphanages, but never told anyone. A monster who helped orphans. It didn't make sense. On day 7, Ella made a mistake. She was admiring a vase in the hallway. beautiful blue and white porcelain with dragons painted on it. She reached out to touch it, to trace the delicate artwork, but her hand slipped. The vase fell. The crash echoed through the entire mansion, like a bomb going off. Hyejin came running. When she saw the broken pieces, her face went pale. "Oh no! Oh no! 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 I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" That vase was from the Joseon dynasty, 15th century, worth over $500,000. Hyejin looked terrified. It was Mr. Choi's mother's favourite piece, the only thing he has left of her. Ice flooded Ella's veins. She'd destroyed something priceless, something that connected him to his dead mother. He was going to kill her. Footsteps approached, heavy, measured, dangerous. Dae-sung appeared, still wearing his business suit. Tie loosened like he'd been working. His eyes went to the broken vase, then to Ella, then back to the vase. Silence stretched like pulled wire about to snap. "I'm sorry," Ella whispered, her voice small. "I didn't know. I'll pay you back somehow. It's just a thing." His voice was flat, emotionless. "But your mother is dead." He knelt down, picking up a blue piece with a dragon's eye painted on it. His thumb rubbed over it gently. 10 years dead. This vase won't bring her back. He stood, still holding that piece, and looked at Ella with an expression she couldn't read. "Did you cut yourself?" She looked down. Blood dripped from her palm where she'd grabbed a sharp piece without thinking. "It's nothing. It's blood on my floor." He grabbed her wrist, examining her hand. His touch was surprisingly gentle. "Come." He pulled her into a nearby bathroom, turning on the water, holding her hand under it. The cold stung, but he didn't let go. He cleaned the wound with careful movements, pulled out a first aid kit from the cabinet, applied antiseptic that burned like fire. She hissed, and he paused. "Pain is good," he said, quietly, wrapping a bandage around her palm. "Pain reminds us to be more careful. Aren't you angry?" She couldn't help asking. "That vase was worth—" "500,000, yes, I heard." He finished the bandage but didn't release her hand. His thumb traced circles on her wrist, right over her racing pulse. "You think I care about money, Ella? I have more money than I can spend in 3 lifetimes. Then, what do you care about?" His eyes lifted to hers, dark and intense, and full of something that made her knees weak. "That's a dangerous question." The bathroom suddenly felt very small. He was so close, his masculine scent filling her lungs, his body heat radiating onto her skin. She should pull away, she should run, but her body refused to obey. "You confuse me," she admitted in a whisper. "You're cruel but kind. You force me to marry you but keep your distance. You're a criminal but you help people. Who are you really?" "I don't know anymore." His confession shocked her. His free hand came up, tucking a curl behind her ear, his fingers lingering on her neck. "Before you, I knew exactly who I was. I was the monster everyone feared. I didn't question it. I didn't feel—" He stopped, jaw clenching. "Feel what?" "Lonely." The word came out rough, like it hurt to say. "I didn't feel lonely because I didn't let myself feel anything. Then you show up with your fire and your stubbornness and your beautiful dark skin. And suddenly this house feels even emptier when you're not around." Her heart hammered against her ribs. "Dae-sung!" "Don't." He pulled back, dropping her hand like it burned. "Don't say my name like that, like you might actually care." "I don't care," she lied. "Good. Keep it that way." He walked to the door, paused, spoke without turning around. "Hyejin will teach you Korean if you want to learn. Knowledge is power in this world. Might as well arm yourself." Then he was gone, leaving Ella alone with a bandaged hand and a heart that beat too fast. 2 weeks later, she got sick. It started with a headache, then chills, then fever that made the world spin. She tried to hide it, but during dinner, the one meal Dae-sung had started joining her for, sitting at the opposite end of that long table, barely talking, she suddenly felt the room tilt. "Ella?" His voice sounded far away. "Ella!" She woke up in her bed, blankets piled on her shaking body. A cold cloth pressed against her forehead, but the hand holding it wasn't Hye Jin's. Dae-sung sat on the edge of her bed, still wearing his work clothes, concern etched in his face. "Your fever is 102. The doctor is coming. You called a doctor." Her voice was raspy. "Did you think I'd let you die? You're worth $2 million, remember?" But his tone was gentle, his hand brushing sweat-soaked hair from her face. "Besides, if you die, who will I argue with at dinner?" "You barely talk at dinner." "Because if I talk, I'll say things I shouldn't." His thumb traced her cheekbone, cool against her burning skin. "Drink this." He helped her sit up, held a glass of water to her lips like she was a child. The tenderness in his actions contradicted everything she knew about him. When she finished drinking, he eased her back down, adjusting her pillows. "Why are you being nice?" she asked, too feverish to filter her words. "I'm not nice. I'm protecting my investment." "Liar." A small smile cracked his serious face. "Sleep, Ella. I'll stay until the doctor arrives." "You don't have to." "I want to." The admission seemed to surprise him as much as her. His hand found hers under the blanket, his fingers lacing with hers, strong, warm, safe. "Just sleep. I've got you." And for the first time since this nightmare began, Ella felt something besides fear when she looked at him. She felt hope. Maybe monsters could be more than their worst parts. Maybe somewhere under all that ice, Dae-sung had a heart that could still beat for something besides violence and power. Maybe she was falling for her captor. And maybe that was the most dangerous thing of all. The gunshots woke Ella at 2 a.m. She bolted upright in bed, heart exploding in her chest. More shots, rapid fire coming from downstairs. Glass shattered. Men shouted in Korean. Something heavy crashed against a wall. Her door burst open. Dae-sung filled the doorway, gun in one hand. Fury carved into his face. Blood splattered his white shirt, but she couldn't tell if it was his. "Get up, now." Ella scrambled out of bed, wearing only a thin nightgown that barely reached her thighs. His eyes swept over her body for half a second before he grabbed her hand, pulling her into the hallway. More gunshots exploded from below. She could smell smoke and gunpowder and fear. "Who?" she started. "The Chinese gang I refused to partner with." He moved fast, dragging her toward a hidden door in the wall she'd never noticed. "They're trying to send a message by taking what's mine." What's mine? She should hate how he said that. But right now, with bullets flying and death in the air, being his felt like the safest thing in the world. The hidden door led to a panic room, reinforced steel walls, security monitors showing the attack happening throughout the mansion. 6 men in black tactical gear were searching room by room, weapons raised, destroying everything in their path. Dae-sung's men were fighting back, but they were outnumbered. "Stay here," Dae-sung commanded, shoving her inside. "Lock this door. Don't open it for anyone but me." "Wait!" She grabbed his arm. His muscles were tense, coiled like springs. "You're going back out there. You'll get killed. They came into my house." His voice was arctic cold, but his eyes burned. "They threatened what belongs to me. I'll paint the walls with their blood before I let them have you." Before she could respond, he was gone. Through the monitors, Ella watched hell unfold. Dae-sung moved through his mansion like an avenging angel, fast, brutal, efficient. He shot one attacker in the knee, another in the shoulder. When one got too close, he fought hand to hand, his fists crushing bone and flesh, blood sprayed, bodies dropped. This wasn't the man who gently bandaged her hand or sat by her bed when she was sick. This was the monster everyone feared, but he was her monster, fighting to protect her. It took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of violence and chaos, and Ella holding her breath every time an enemy gun pointed at Dae-sung's back. When the last attacker fell, silence crashed over the mansion like a wave. Dae-sung stood in the middle of his destroyed living room, chest heaving, covered in blood, surrounded by bodies. His men emerged from their positions, checking pulses, securing weapons. And then Dae-sung looked up, directly at the camera where he knew she was watching. Even through the screen, the intensity in his eyes made her shiver. He came for her minutes later, yanking open the panic room door. Without a word, he pulled her out, his hands running over her arms, her shoulders, her face, checking for injuries even though she'd been safe the whole time. "Are you hurt?" His voice was rough, desperate. "No, I'm fine. But it's not my blood." He cupped her face with both hands, thumbs stroking her cheeks. His hands were trembling. The fearsome crime boss, who'd just killed 6 men, was shaking because of her. When I heard them getting close to your room, I thought..." She did something crazy. She wrapped her arms around his waist, pressing her face against his bloody chest, holding him tight. He went completely still, like he'd forgotten how hugs worked. Then his arms came around her, crushing her against him so hard she could barely breathe, his face buried in her hair, his heart pounded against her ear, fast, wild, alive. They stood like that in the hallway, surrounded by destruction, holding each other like the world was ending. "I can't lose you," he whispered into her hair. "I don't know when it happened, but I can't lose you." Ella's eyes burned with tears. She should push him away. She should remember that he'd forced her into this life. But all she could think was that he'd risked his life to save hers, that his arms felt like home, that maybe she'd been lying to herself about what she felt for him. "You won't lose me," she heard herself say. "I'm right here." His grip tightened for one more moment. Then he forced himself to let go. "This is why you need to learn to protect yourself. My enemies will use you to hurt me. I need to know you can fight back if I'm not there. Then teach me." Something flickered in his eyes. Pride, maybe, or desire. "Training starts tomorrow. It won't be easy." "I'm not scared of hard work. I'm scared of being helpless." "You could never be helpless, Ella." He touched her face one more time, his thumb tracing her bottom lip. "You're the strongest person I've ever met. You just don't know it yet." The next morning, despite the chaos and cleanup and police being paid off to ignore the massacre, Dae-sung woke her at 6. He'd transformed one of the mansion's rooms into a training space, mats on the floor, punching bags, weapons locked in a cabinet. He'd changed into black workout clothes that showed off his powerful build, broad chest, muscular arms, the body of a man who'd spent his life fighting. Ella wore leggings and a sports bra that Hyejin had mysteriously provided, and she didn't miss how Dae-sung's eyes darkened when he saw her. "First lesson," he said, voice professional but strained. "Situational awareness. Most people get hurt because they don't see danger coming." He moved behind her, so close she could feel his body heat. His hands touched her shoulders, adjusting her posture. Electricity shot through her everywhere his skin met hers. His breath was warm on her neck. "Feel the room around you," he instructed, his voice dropping lower. "Listen, sense, anticipate." His hands slid down her arms, leaving goosebumps in their wake. "Your body knows when danger is near. You just have to trust it." "Hard to focus when you're touching me like that," she admitted before thinking. He went very still behind her. Like what? Like you're doing more than just teaching. A pause. Then his hands tightened on her arms. Maybe I am. His lips were suddenly close to her ear. Maybe every time I touch you, I have to remind myself not to do more. Maybe having you in my house, seeing you every day, knowing you sleep just down the hall wearing almost nothing, maybe it's driving me insane. Her breath caught. Dae-sung, focus, he said roughly, stepping back and putting professional distance between them. We're training, nothing else. But the air between them was charged now, humming with unspoken want. He taught her how to break holds, where to strike to cause maximum damage, how to use an attacker's strength against them. Every move required touching, his hands positioning her hips, his body demonstrating throws, his chest pressed against her back as he showed her proper form. By the end of 2 hours, they were both breathing hard, and it had nothing to do with exercise. Again, Dae-sung commanded. Someone grabs you from behind. What do? He wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her back against his hard body. The position was intimate, overwhelming. She could feel every inch of him pressed against her, his chest, his thighs, his heartbeat. Her mind went blank. I can't think. That's when you die. But his voice was rough, his grip tightening instead of letting go. Ella, if you don't move, I'm going to do something we can't take back. She should elbow him, stomp his foot, break free like he'd taught her. Instead, she melted against him. What if I don't want to take it back? He made a sound, half groan, half growl, and spun her around to face him. His eyes were blazing, all control shredded. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. She was trembling but didn't look away. I see you, Dae-sung. Not the monster. The man who sits with me at dinner even though he's exhausted, who teaches me Korean so I'll feel less lost, who risked his life for mine last night. I see you. You should hate me. I know. I do hate you sometimes. Her hand touched his chest, right over his racing heart. But I also feel other things. Confusing things. His hand covered hers, pressing it harder against his chest. This is real, what I feel for you. It started as ownership, but it's become something else. Something that terrifies me because I've never felt it before. His other hand cupped her face. I want you, Ella. Not because you're my wife on paper, but because you're you. Because you challenge me and see through my walls and make me want to be better than the monster I've become. Then have me, she whispered. Not like this. Not when you might still be confused or scared or... She kissed him, rose up on her toes and pressed her lips to his, silencing his doubts. For one heartbeat, he didn't respond. Then he was kissing her back with hunger that had been building for weeks. His arms wrapped around her, lifting her off the ground. Her legs instinctively wrapped around his waist, and he groaned into her mouth. This kiss was different from that first one. No force, no claiming, just pure desire and choice. She was choosing this, choosing him. Her hands tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, deeper. His hands roamed her back, her waist, everywhere he could reach, like he was memorizing her body through touch. When they finally broke apart, both gasping, he rested his forehead against hers. Tell me this is real. Tell me you want this. It's real, she promised. I want this. I want you. Even knowing what I am, what I've done. I don't want you in spite of what you are. I want all of you, the darkness and the light. Her hands framed his face. You're more than your worst deeds, Dae-sung. You're also the man who cried when he thought I'd die, who keeps his mother's broken vase piece in his pocket. She'd noticed it once, that blue dragon eye always with him, who's lonely in a house full of people because no one sees the real you. Something broke in his expression. Walls crumbling, ice melting. He kissed her again, softer this time, reverent. I don't deserve you. Probably not. She smiled against his lips. But you have me anyway. That evening, rain poured down in sheets, drumming against the windows. They sat in his office, the forbidden room she'd finally been invited into. A fire crackled in the fireplace. She curled up on his leather couch while he sat beside her, close enough to touch, far enough to be respectful of the new territory they were navigating. Tell me about your family, she said softly. Your real story. He was quiet for so long, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I was 12 when they died. My father was a businessman, legitimate, successful, kind. My mother was a teacher. I had a younger sister, Minji. She was 8. We were happy. His voice cracked on that last word. A rival gang wanted my father's business connections. He refused to get involved with criminals, so they killed him. Shot him in front of my mother and sister and me, then they killed my mother. And then, his hand clenched into a fist. Ella reached over, gently prying his fingers open, lacing hers with his. Minji tried to run, he continued, staring at their joined hands. I tried to stop them, but I was just a kid. They shot her too, left me alive as a message. This is what happens when you refuse us. I spent 3 years in an orphanage planning revenge, learning to fight, learning to be harder than the men who destroyed my family. By 15, I'd killed every single person involved in their deaths, and I didn't stop. I became the thing I hated most, a criminal who takes what he wants through fear and violence. Tears streamed down Ella's face. You were protecting yourself, surviving. No. He finally looked at her, anguish raw in his eyes. I became a monster by choice. I've hurt innocent people. Destroyed families like mine was destroyed. I don't get redemption, Ella. I don't get forgiveness. She moved closer until she was pressed against his side. Everyone deserves a chance to change, to be better. Why would you believe that, after everything I've done to you? Because you stayed by my bed when I was sick. Because you protect orphanages, even though it reminds you of your pain. Because right now, you're holding my hand like it's the only thing keeping you from drowning. She turned his face toward hers. You're not that 12-year-old boy anymore, but you're not only the monster either. You're somewhere in between, trying to figure out who you want to be. He searched her eyes like he was looking for proof she meant it. Then slowly, carefully, he pulled her into his lap. She went willingly, straddling his thighs, her arms around his neck. His hands settled on her waist, possessive but gentle. Can I kiss you again? He asked, his voice vulnerable in a way she'd never heard. Not to claim or possess, just because I need to taste your lips and remember that something good can still want me. Yes, she whispered. Always yes. This kiss was slow, deep, full of emotion instead of just heat. His hand stroked her back while hers tangled in his hair. The rain pounded outside, but inside was warmth and connection and 2 broken people finding wholeness in each other. When he finally pulled back, he pressed kisses to her forehead, her cheeks, her nose. Stay with me tonight. Just sleep. Nothing more. I just want to hold you. Okay, she agreed, knowing this was a turning point, knowing that whatever happened next, she was falling for this complicated, dangerous, surprisingly tender man. And for the first time since her forced wedding, she wasn't scared of what that meant. She was ready to see where this impossible love could go. Ella woke up to rough hands covering her mouth and a chemical smell burning her nose. Panic exploded through her body. She tried to scream, but the hand pressed harder. She tried to fight, using the moves Dae-sung had taught her, but there were too many of them. 3 men in black masks appearing in her bedroom like ghosts. Where were the guards? Where was Dae-sung? A cloth pressed over her face. Chemical sweetness filled her lungs. The world spun, darkened, and she fell into unconsciousness with one thought echoing in her mind. Dae-sung, find me. She woke in darkness, head pounding, wrists bound to a metal chair, cold concrete floor, damp walls, the smell of mould and rust, a basement or warehouse, somewhere far from the mansion, far from safety. Fear clawed at her throat, but she forced herself to breathe. Think, stay calm. Remember your training. Footsteps approached. A door opened, flooding the space with harsh light. A man entered, tall, lean, with a cruel smile and a scar cutting through his left eyebrow. His expensive suit seemed out of place in this dirty warehouse. "Mrs. Choi," he said in accented English, circling her like a predator. "Welcome. I'm Hyunwoo. I believe your husband and I have some unfinished business." "He'll kill you," Ella said, keeping her voice steady despite her racing heart. "When he finds me, and he will find me, he'll destroy you." Hyunwoo laughed. "I'm counting on it. You see, Dae-sung Choi thinks he's untouchable. He refused my partnership. He embarrassed me in front of the entire Korean underground, so I'm going to take what he loves most and break it. Then I'll watch him crumble. I'm not a thing to be broken. Everyone breaks eventually." He grabbed her chin roughly, forcing her to look at him. "You're pretty, exotic. I can see why he's obsessed. Maybe before I kill you, I'll enjoy you myself. Show Dae-sung exactly what happens when—" Ella spat in his face. His expression transformed from smug to furious in a heartbeat. His hand cracked across her cheek, snapping her head sideways. Pain exploded through her skull. Blood filled her mouth. "Bind her tighter," he snarled at his men, "and get cameras set up. I want Choi to watch every moment of his wife's suffering. Send him the video in 1 hour." They left her alone in the dark again. Ella worked at her bindings, testing for weakness, trying to remember everything Dae-sung had taught her about escaping restraints. The rope was tight, but not impossible. She just needed time. "Hold on," she told herself. Dae-sung is coming. He's coming. At the mansion, Dae-sung walked into Ella's empty bedroom, and his world stopped. Signs of struggle. Overturned lamp. Her phone on the floor, screen cracked, the window open, the one exit the cameras didn't fully cover because he'd thought the third-floor height made it impossible. He'd been wrong. "Sir," his head of security burst in, face pale. "The guards were drugged. Someone got past our systems. We have no footage of who—" Dae-sung's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. "Hello, Choi." Hyunwoo's voice was poison in his ear. "Missing something? Check your messages." A video appeared. Ella, bound to a chair, blood on her lip, but her eyes fierce and defiant. Hyunwoo's face appeared in frame. "You have 24 hours to surrender your entire operation to me. All territories, all businesses, everything. Or I start taking her apart, piece by piece. And trust me, I'll make it last." The video ended. Something broke inside Dae-sung. The cold control he'd maintained for 20 years shattered like glass. A roar tore from his throat, primal, agonized, inhuman. He threw his phone against the wall, shattering it. His fist went through the window. Blood dripped from his knuckles, but he didn't feel it. "Find her." His voice was dead calm now, which was infinitely more terrifying than the rage. "Activate every contact, every informant, torture anyone who might know, burn down every single one of Hyunwoo's properties until someone tells us where he's keeping her." "Sir." His second-in-command hesitated. "If we go to war like this, we'll lose allies. Other gangs will see it as weakness that you're—" Dae-sung's hand was around the man's throat before he could finish. "She is not weakness. She is everything. And if the entire criminal world has to burn to get her back, then I'll light the match myself. Now, move. His men scattered. For the next 18 hours, Seoul's underground descended into chaos. Dae-sung became a force of nature, hitting 5 of Hyunwoo's warehouses, interrogating anyone connected to the rival gang, leaving bodies and destruction in his wake. His men had never seen him like this. Wild, desperate, absolutely unhinged. "Boss, you need to rest," someone suggested. "I'll rest when she's safe." His eyes were bloodshot, his clothes covered in blood, most of it not his own. Keep searching. Finally, a break. A low-level associate cracked under pressure, giving up a location, an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city. Dae-sung didn't wait for backup. He took 3 of his best men and moved. Inside the factory, Ella had managed to loosen her ropes. Her wrists were raw and bleeding, but she'd almost gotten one hand free. Hyunwoo had visited twice more, each time threatening, each time getting angrier that Dae-sung hadn't surrendered. "He's not coming, is he?" Hyunwoo sneered during his latest visit. "Maybe you're not as important to him as you thought. Maybe you're just another possession he's willing to sacrifice for his empire." Doubt whispered in Ella's mind, but she crushed it. "You don't know him. He's coming, and when he gets here, you're dead." Bold words for a woman tied to a chair. He leaned close, his breath hot on her face. "Last chance, Mrs. Choi. Call your husband, tell him to surrender, or I start cutting off fingers." "Go to hell." He pulled out a knife. That's when the explosions started. The factory's main door blew inward. Gunfire erupted. Men screamed. Hyunwoo's confident expression transformed to panic as he realized what was happening. Dae-sung had found them, and he'd brought hell with him. Hyunwoo grabbed Ella, pulling her up despite her bindings, knife at her throat. "Stay back or she dies." Through the smoke and chaos, Dae-sung appeared. He looked like death incarnate, covered in blood and dust, eyes blazing with fury, gun in each hand. When he saw Ella with a knife to her throat, something terrible crossed his face. "Let her go!" Each word was a death sentence. "Drop your weapons or I'll slit her throat right now." Dae-sung didn't hesitate. Both guns clattered to the floor. "Boss, no!" his men protested. "I said drop them." He raised his hands. "Take me instead. Let her go. Take me. I'll give you everything you want. Just don't hurt her." Ella's heart broke seeing him like this. The most powerful man in Seoul's criminal underground, brought to his knees by love for her. "Dae-sung, don't," she started. In that split second of distraction, she made her move. The hours of training kicked in. She dropped her weight, slipping down out of Hyunwoo's grip. Her finally freed hand grabbed his wrist, twisting the knife away. She drove her elbow back into his ribs with all her strength. He stumbled. Dae-sung moved like lightning. He crossed the distance in 3 strides, grabbing Hyunwoo by the throat. Pure murder in his eyes. "You touched her. You threatened her. You made her bleed." "Wait," Hyunwoo choked out. Dae-sung didn't wait. The crack of breaking bone echoed through the warehouse. Hyunwoo's body dropped to the ground, lifeless. Then Dae-sung was on his knees in front of Ella, hands frantically checking her for injuries, touching her face, her arms, everywhere, like he couldn't believe she was real. "Are you hurt? Did anyone—" "I'm okay," she managed. He crushed her against his chest, his whole body shaking. "I thought I lost you. I thought—" His voice broke. "Ella, I love you. I love you so much. You're everything, my whole world. I can't exist without you." She should feel relief. She should feel safe. Instead, anger surged through her. "This is your fault!" She shoved him back, tears streaming down her face. Your world did this. Your enemies. I was kidnapped because of you. I could have died because you're a criminal. Pain flashed across his face like she'd stabbed him. I know, and I'm sorry isn't enough. She was sobbing now, all the fear and trauma pouring out. I can't live like this, always wondering if today is the day someone takes me to hurt you, always being a target. I want to go home, back to Nigeria, back to where life makes sense and people don't get kidnapped and... No. His hands grabbed her shoulders. He was crying too, tears streaming down his blood-stained face. No, you can't. Leave. You can't. Ella, please. Give me one reason to stay, she shouted. One reason that isn't just you being selfish and possessive, because you're my home. The words exploded from him. Nigeria isn't your home anymore. That mansion isn't my home. You are. You're the only place I've ever felt safe. The only person who's ever seen all of me, the monster and the man, and chosen to stay anyway. You're not my possession. You're my salvation. And if you leave, I'm lost. Completely. Forever. His broken honesty shattered her anger. She saw him then, truly saw him, not as the terrifying crime boss, but as a man who'd lost everyone he'd ever loved, and was terrified of losing her too. A man who'd literally dropped his weapons and offered his own life to save hers. I'm scared, she whispered. I'm so scared of loving you because your world is so dangerous. I know. I'm scared too. He cupped her face with trembling hands. But I'll change. I'll leave this life if that's what you need. I'll walk away from all of it. The power, the money, the empire, if it means keeping you safe and by my side. You're worth more than everything else combined. You can't just leave. It doesn't work that way. Then I'll find a way. I'll make it work. His forehead pressed against hers. Just don't give up on us. Please, I'm begging you. I'll spend every day for the rest of my life making you feel safe and loved and cherished. I'll become whoever you need me to be. Just stay. Please stay. She looked into his eyes and saw nothing but raw, desperate love. Not possession, not control. Just a man absolutely destroyed at the thought of losing the woman he loved. I love you too, she finally admitted. I'm in love with you, Dae-sung. Even though it's crazy and wrong and dangerous. I love you. He made a broken sound and kissed her, desperate, passionate, pouring everything he felt into it. She kissed him back with equal intensity, tasting their mingled tears, feeling his heartbeat racing against hers. When they finally pulled apart, his men had discreetly cleared the area, giving them privacy. Dae-sung lifted her into his arms, carrying her like she weighed nothing. Take me home, she whispered, always. Back at the mansion, after she'd been checked by doctors and cleared of serious injury, after the adrenaline finally faded, Dae-sung carried her to his bedroom. He ran her a bath, washing her gently, carefully, treating her like precious glass that might break. I'm not fragile, she told him. I know. You're the strongest person I've ever met. His hands were tender on her skin. But let me take care of you anyway. I need to. After, he carried her to bed, both of them finally clean, finally safe. She expected him to simply hold her. Instead, his mouth found hers in a kiss that was both gentle and consuming. I need you, he murmured against her lips. I need to feel you alive and safe and mine. I need to show you how much I love you, how much you mean to me. Then show me, she breathed. What followed was love-making. That was different from every time before, slower, more emotional. Every touch was a promise. Every kiss was devotion. He worshipped her body like she was sacred, whispering words of love and commitment against her skin. When he entered her, their eyes locked and neither looked away. They moved together perfectly, Two souls reconnecting after nearly being torn apart. Pleasure built slowly, intensely, overwhelming in its emotional depth. I love you. He groaned as they moved together. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you too. She gasped, tears streaming down her face from the intensity of what she felt. I'm yours, forever. I'm not leaving. Promise me. His thrusts became more desperate. Promise you'll never leave. I promise. I'm yours, you're mine, forever. They came together, crying each other's names, holding on tight, emotion crashing over them as powerfully as physical pleasure. And in that moment, Ella knew with absolute certainty. This wasn't forced anymore. This wasn't about debt or ownership or possession. This was real, true, impossible love, and she was never letting go. 3 months after the kidnapping, Ella woke to find Dae-sung's side of the bed empty. Again, it was becoming a pattern. He'd slip out before dawn, returning exhausted but quieter, more thoughtful than before. She found him in his office, surrounded by papers, looking older than his 42 years. What are you doing? She asked from the doorway. He looked up, and despite his exhaustion, his face softened when he saw her. Come here. She crossed to him, and he pulled her into his lap, burying his face in her neck. I'm selling off the drug operations, the weapons trafficking, everything that puts you at risk. I'm transitioning to legitimate businesses, real estate, technology investments, restaurants. It'll take time and I'll lose some power and money, but you're doing it for me, she finished, tears pricking her eyes. I'm doing it for us. He lifted his head, his dark eyes intense. I almost lost you, Ella. I can't live through that again. So I'm changing, becoming someone worthy of the second chance you've given me. She kissed him deeply, pouring all her love into it. I'm proud of you. Don't be proud yet. I have a long way to go. He hesitated. There's something else. I want to take you home, to Nigeria, to meet your family properly and ask permission to marry you the right way. Her heart stuttered. You want to meet my family. I want to do this correctly. I took you without asking. I forced you into a marriage that should have been your choice. Now I want to give you the wedding you deserved from the beginning, one where you say yes because you want to, not because you have to. Tears spilled down her cheeks. When do we leave? Whenever you're ready. I'm ready now. 2 weeks later, they landed in Lagos. The heat and humidity hit Ella like a wave of nostalgia. The sounds, the smells, the chaos. It was home in a way Seoul could never be. But when she looked at Dae-sung beside her, she realized home wasn't a place anymore. It was him. Her uncle's compound was exactly as she remembered. Modest, but well kept. Family members everywhere. The sound of Yoruba mixing with English. When they arrived, her cousins stared at Dae-sung with wide eyes. He was so clearly foreign, so obviously dangerous despite his expensive casual clothes and careful smile. Her uncle emerged from the house. He'd aged since she'd last seen him, more grey in his hair, more guilt in his eyes. When he saw Ella, shame crossed his face. Uncle, she greeted in Yoruba, keeping her voice neutral. Ella. His voice cracked. I didn't think you'd come back. Dae-sung stepped forward, and to everyone's shock, he bowed deeply, a sign of profound respect in Korean culture. Sir, my name is Choi Dae-sung. I'm the man who took your niece as payment for your debt. I've come to apologize for the disrespect I showed you, your family, and most importantly, Ella. The uncle blinked, clearly not expecting this. You're apologizing. What I did was wrong. I treated Ella like property instead of the remarkable woman she is. I didn't ask your permission. I didn't honor your family's traditions. I took her from her home and forced her into a life she didn't choose. Dae-sung's voice was steady, but filled with genuine remorse. I can't undo those wrongs, but I can ask for your forgiveness and your blessing to do things properly now. Blessing for what? Her uncle asked cautiously. To marry your niece, the right way this time, with your permission, with her family present, honouring both our cultures. Dae-sung looked at Ella with such love that her heart swelled. She's changed my life completely. She's made me want to be a better man, and I want to spend the rest of my life making her happy. Her uncle looked at Ella. Is this what you want, after everything he did? Yes. She moved to stand beside Dae-sung, taking his hand. I know how it started was wrong, but what we have now is real. He's changing his entire life for me. He's leaving his dangerous world, and I love him, truly love him. Silence stretched, then her uncle sighed. Love is strange. It finds us in unexpected places, even places that start with pain. He looked at Dae-sung. If you hurt her again, no amount of money or power will protect you from this family's wrath. I understand, sir. And I promise you, I will spend every day protecting her, cherishing her, and making sure she never regrets choosing me. Her uncle nodded slowly. Then, you have my blessing. Ella threw her arms around her uncle, sobbing. Dae-sung stood back, watching with wet eyes as she reunited with her family, aunts, uncles, cousins, all embracing her, asking questions, welcoming her home. Later, when they were alone in the guest room, she turned to him. Thank you for doing this right. Thank you for giving me the chance to. He pulled her close. Now, we plan a wedding. A real one. The wedding took place 2 months later in a beautiful outdoor venue in Lagos. It was unlike anything either family had seen. A perfect fusion of Korean and Nigerian traditions. The ceremony began with traditional Korean customs. Dae-sung wore a hanbok, the traditional Korean outfit in deep blue with gold accents. He performed the ceremonial bows, his friends and remaining legitimate business associates watching. His mother's broken vase piece was incorporated into the ceremony, symbolizing that broken things could be honored and remembered while building something new. Then came the Nigerian traditions. Ella emerged in stunning traditional attire, a coral beaded crown, wrapper and blouse in rich purple and gold, her neck and wrists adorned with coral beads. The colours were breathtaking against her dark skin. When Dae-sung saw her, he actually wiped tears from his eyes, not caring who saw him cry. The traditional Nigerian engagement ceremony happened first. Dae-sung's representatives, asking her family for her hand, presenting gifts, following every protocol perfectly. He'd hired a cultural consultant to ensure he did everything correctly, showing respect for traditions he'd ignored the first time. I present myself before you today, Dae-sung said in carefully practiced Yoruba, though his accent was thick, to ask for the honour of marrying your daughter. I know I don't deserve her, but I will spend my life trying to be worthy of the gift you're giving me. Her family was moved by his effort to speak their language, to honour their customs. Her grandmother, the family matriarch, stood and placed her hand on his head in blessing. You have travelled far to right your wrongs. You have humbled yourself before us. We see your heart for our daughter. You may marry her, but remember, she is our treasure. Treat her as such, always, he promised. Then came the exchange of vows, not the cold, forced words from their first wedding, but words they'd written themselves. Ella, Dae-sung began, his voice thick with emotion. You appeared in my life like a storm, unexpected, powerful, impossible to ignore. You saw the monster everyone feared and found the man underneath. You gave me a reason to change, to hope, to love. I vow to protect you, cherish you, honor you, and choose you every single day for the rest of my life. You are my home, my peace, my everything." Ella was already crying. "Dae-sung, you took me from my home but gave me a new one in your heart. You showed me that love can grow even in the darkest soil. You've changed for me, sacrificed for me, loved me when I couldn't love myself. I vow to stand beside you through everything, the good and the bad, and to never stop believing in the man you're becoming. You are my unexpected blessing, my impossible love, my forever." When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Dae-sung cupped her face with such tenderness and kissed her with such love that everyone watching felt it. Applause erupted from both families, Korean and Nigerian united in celebration of this unlikely love. The reception was a beautiful chaos of two cultures colliding, Korean food and Nigerian jollof rice side by side, traditional drums mixing with K-pop, both families dancing and laughing together despite language barriers. Watching it all, Ella felt complete. This was what she'd never known she needed. Her two worlds merging, her past and her future becoming one. Late that night, in their hotel room, Dae-sung carefully removed her coral crown, his fingers gentle. "You were the most beautiful bride I've ever seen. Both times. But today, watching you say yes with joy instead of fear, that's a memory I'll treasure forever. Today felt real," she said, helping him out of his hanbok. "Today, I chose you freely, and I'll keep choosing you every day." They made love that night with the knowledge that they were truly married now, not by force or debt, but by choice and love. Their bodies moved together perfectly, years of learning each other paying off. Every touch was reverent. Every kiss was promise, every whispered word of love was truth. 1 year later, Ella stood in the nursery of their Seoul mansion, the room that had once been cold storage, now painted in soft yellows and greens. Her hand rested on her swollen belly, feeling their baby kick. Dae-sung entered, home early from his now legitimate business dealings. He'd fully transitioned out of the criminal world, though he still maintained enough connections to keep them safe. He was different now, softer, quicker to smile, more at peace. "How's our little one?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind, his hands covering hers on her belly. "Active, like someone else I know." She leaned back against him. "Your mother would be proud of you, of who you've become." "I hope so." He kissed her neck. "I hope she'd be proud that her son found redemption through love, that her grandson or granddaughter will grow up knowing both worlds, Korean and Nigerian, and be stronger for it. Our child will know love above all else," Ella said. "That's what matters most." They stood there together, watching the sunset through the window, holding each other close. Their story had started with darkness, with debt and force and pain, but it had transformed into something beautiful, something real, proof that even the worst beginnings could lead to the brightest endings. That love could bloom in the most unlikely places, that people could change, grow, and become better versions of themselves. Every night, as they lay in each other's arms, they were grateful. Grateful for second chances, grateful for love that conquered fear, grateful that they'd found each other even if the path had been twisted and dark. They lived happily, not perfectly, because life is never perfect, but fully, deeply, choosing each other every single day, and that was more than enough. It was everything. Thank you for staying with Ella and Dae-sung's journey from darkness to love. If your heart is full right now, that's exactly why we do this. Subscribe for more passionate stories that remind you love is worth fighting for, no matter how complicated. Drop a comment, ladies. Where are you watching from? Do you believe a man like Dae Sung can truly change, or is some darkness permanent? We want to hear your wisdom. Hit like if you believe in second chances, and share this with a friend who needs to remember that all-consuming love still exists. Until next time, keep believing even broken things can be made whole through love. See you in the next story, ladies.